Hey guys, it's Merlini with another episode of Mad Rares with Merlini. I'm in Columbus right now with the rest of Beyond the Summit, minus Lumi, and I will bring you predictions for the first Playday, which will happen tomorrow on Friday. So first we have a couple of roster changes. Firstly, we have Speed Gaming. Arteezy will be replacing Bone 7, and I believe Sing Sing will be shifting to the offlane role, and Arteezy will be playing that solo mid. And on Pretty Boy Swag, I know that some sources listed that Dark Faka will be playing, but I believe the five-man roster that they will be using is Ryu Boris, Cakes, Sleazel, Ama Sheepsucks, and Jubei. The same lineup that they won the MLG Full Sail North American LAN with. And every other team will be using their main five as far as I know. So all of these will be best of ones, and the first two playdays, Friday and Saturday, are all best of ones in a round robin format. The top four teams will advance to the playoffs on Sunday, which will be single elimination best of three, so three total best of threes on that day. I'll be casting on the Alpha stream. I'll have details on that in the video description, which generally contains the higher profile matches. I won't have a chance to see some of the teams like Pretty Boy Swag until day two, so I'm not going to be completely caught up on all the matches here and there. So the first matchup we have is Speed versus Alliance. Speed, they generally don't look that strong on LAN, but they have had some pretty strong performances lately, and they have beat Alliance in a best of three and 2-0 at that. So they definitely have the potential to beat out Alliance. Speed will be having Arteezy as a stand-in, as mentioned before, but I don't really think Sing is that great in the offlane role. I think he's an exceptional mid, but he himself stated in his interview that he feels very uncomfortable about it, and I think teams are generally overconfident in general. So when they're very unconfident like that, it makes me really worried for Speed changes in this matchup. I think the odds are about right. I myself would give it 72-28, but I don't think that many of these odds should be that much greater than 75-25 if you exclude PBS. And I mean, it looks like it's slightly favorable betting on Speed in this matchup, but Alliance being the kings of land right now, I think I'll be placing my odds on them. There is the Alliance favoritism that you have to consider, so odds are slightly skewed, but it's good enough for me to bet on Alliance at this point in time. Next one that we have is Pretty Boy Swag, the no-name NA pub trash, as people dub them, and they will be up versus Liquid. 81-19 are the odds for this matchup. My personal odds are 22-78, and Pretty Boy Swags are the huge underdogs here. I played with quite a few of their members in matchmaking and in NEL. Reborez, Sheepsucks, as well as Sleazel, and they're not as bad as people think. I think that people are underrating them a little bit, and also think that during a team's reconnaissance period, more of the better teams really, highly doubt they'll be scouting out Pretty Boy Swag because of lack of replays as well as a lack of a threat. And I've been watching their performance since the MLG North American League in September and October, and they certainly have potential, but I don't see an upset happening in this particular best of one. I'll probably wait until the YOLOers lose faith in PBS, until the odds are skewed a little bit more, and then maybe place a bet there. But not this match, going with Liquid here. Next one that we have is EG versus Navi, and Navi is notoriously poor during group stage performances. Alien World Cup, they did pretty terrible. Their first matchup in TI3 group stage versus Fnatic, they also lost, and just generally all around, they just awful at group stage. I'm not sure whether they just don't care, whether they're trying new stuff, whether they're trying to troll people. I have no idea, but this is probably one of the riskiest matches of the day. E.g., they've been looking really inconsistent this past week, and a lot of matches they haven't even played because of constant connection issues. And Navi has a tendency to just barely scrape by in group stages, even with the ASUS Dream League. They like barely made into the playoffs. So smartest move is to not bet on this matchup. I would actually give the odds like 30-70 in favor of Navi in this one. Probably a small or large bet on EG for me because I like to take on risk sometimes and because I think odds are slightly skewed because of Navi favoritism. I'm still pretty unsure about this one. Next one that we have is Alliance DK. Alliance did beat out DK 2-0 in the Nexon Invitational a few days ago. Odds are about right. I'd actually give Alliance slightly better odds, maybe like 66-34, 67-33. DK have yet to prove themselves as champion material in 6.79. They still get outdrafted quite a few times, and they just don't look as strong as they did in 6.78. They look slightly shaky in the WPCA matches the other day, dropping one versus Tongfu and almost losing to LGDNs. But overall, they're still a pretty solid team. I think that both teams have a lot of fans, Alliance and DK, so the favoritism thing is not really a big deal here. Also, I don't particularly like citing jet lag as a reason to bet against a team because I don't think it's that big of a deal because gamers tend to keep strange hours anyways, and they have a full day to compensate usually. I'm going with Alliance here. The odds would have to change to probably over 70% in favor of Alliance for me to change my bet. The next one that we have is Fnatic EU versus Pretty Boy Swag. And Pretty Boy Swag actually has decent odds here. 72-28 in favor of Fnatic. My odds probably 74-26. These two teams have actually faced off before in the ISO Cup just a few days ago, and Fnatic EU did 1-0 them. Pretty Boy Swag, I believe, picked the Death Prophet here. Didn't work out too well for them. Fnatic at a LAN event, though, is entirely different from what we see them on how we see them online. They did drop 1 versus 4 FC yesterday, but don't let that affect your bet. I think the odds should be even more in favor of Fnatic than is shown here. And people are probably hesitant because they lost rares against 4FC, myself included, but I'll be betting on Fnatic again. This Navi versus Sigma Int matchup is pretty similar to Navi versus EG. Sigma Int is more consistent of a team, and I think they're like slightly better than EG, so odds are pretty much spot on for this. I'd probably give it like 69 31 in favor of Navi in this one. Likely going with Sigma though. I think Navi will drop at least one of the matches, EG or versus Sigma, and I'll probably be betting against Navi in both of those, counting on the fact that they'll lose one of them. Save your rares for other bets if you're looking for safe games. Next, we have DK versus Liquid, and the odds of this one are 58-42. I think they should be much, much closer, like 52-48 in favor of DK. DK, they just haven't been showing that impressive results lately, and generally the odds are heavily skewed in favor of DK because they have a ton more fans than many of the other teams. Unless Liquid absolutely chokes, which Bulba does occasionally, or DK come roaring out in their game versus Alliance, these odds are unlikely to change. And also, you have to consider the fact that Liquid has home court advantage. This is a offline LAN event in the USA, and as God's mentioned, not that many people will be rooting for EG. Many more people will be likely rooting for Liquid. So I'll definitely be betting on Liquid. These odds are very, very skewed. EG Fnatic. This one is a pretty close matchup. They did face off a few days ago, which EG did beat out Fnatic in a 2-0 matchup. They also used Riki Maru, a very unusual pick, but EG just hasn't been looking that strong lately, and Fnatic, they are a LAN beast. Unless like Fnatic doesn't play very well versus Pretty Boy Swag, or EG does very well versus Navi, I don't think these odds will change that much. My personal odds are 43-57. Some other people saying that it should be more coin flippy, but I think Fnatic has a decent edge here. There's not too much value in betting on either side. Some people would argue for EG, so take that into consideration. I'll be betting on Fnatic as of right now, though, before spectating the matches to happen tomorrow. And last but not least, we have Sigma Int versus Speed. The D2O odds are about 40-60. I think that's way off. I think it should be pretty much 50-50. Odds are pretty hazy on this one. I think Sigma should have a slight upper hand just judging by the flow of how things are recently going. Sing Sing being unconfident, Speed without Bone 7, RTZ as a stand-in, Sigma beating out Mouse and EG recently. I definitely don't think that it should be a 60-40 in favor of Speed. And with these odds, and before seeing any matches played, my rares are on Sigma Int, but you should wait to place your rares because this is one of the last matchups happening throughout the day. Thanks BTS Gods for letting me use his laptop. I'll be trying to bring you video coverage when I can, and as usual, you can stay posted to the Reddit thread for updates throughout the Playday and for other people's predictions. Thanks guys for watching.